It was a bitterly cold winter night, the kind of night when the city streets felt abandoned and the snow fell endlessly under the dim orange glow of the street lamps. But for Adrian Blackwood, the CEO of one of the largest healthcare corporations in the country, the night was far from ordinary, for while he had every reason to drive straight home to his mansion filled with warmth and silence, something inside urged him to take a detour, and it was at a lonely bus stop on the outskirts of the city that he saw her, a young woman with tangled blonde hair falling over her pale cheeks, her thin nurse's uniform hidden under an oversized coat that wasn't thick enough to fight the cruel snowstorm, and in her trembling arms she held a tiny baby wrapped in a faded blanket. Adrian's polished shoes crunched against the snow as he stopped, his breath visible in the freezing air, and though his reputation was that of a ruthless, untouchable man, his eyes softened as he took in the sight of the shivering mother trying to shield her infant from the biting wind, and he thought, what kind of world leaves someone like her abandoned in the cold? For the woman, whose name was Clara, had spent the last hours of her shift working tirelessly in a small hospital ward, only to be told by her landlady when she returned that she had been locked out of her apartment for not paying rent, and with nowhere else to go and no family to turn to, she had wandered the icy streets with her baby until her legs gave out near the bus stop, hoping the first bus in the morning might carry her away to a safer place, but fate had sent Adrian instead, and as their eyes met, Clara's instinct was to clutch her child tighter, unsure if the well-dressed stranger was there to help or to judge, yet there was something in his gaze, an unexpected gentleness, that kept her from looking away. Adrian crouched down, his expensive coat brushing against the snow, and said softly, "Come with me," words so simple and yet so powerful that Clara felt her heart quiver because no one had ever spoken them with such certainty, not even when she had been abandoned by the father of her child months ago, left to face the world alone with nothing but her skills as a nurse and the fragile hope that kindness still existed. She shook her head weakly, whispering that she couldn't impose on a stranger, but Adrian wouldn't take no for an answer, and when he extended his gloved hand, she realized it was trembling, not from the cold but from the weight of his own emotions he himself hadn't expected to feel that night, for this was a man who had everything yet felt empty every time he returned to his vast, silent home, a man who had buried himself in work to escape the grief of losing his parents too young and of never finding someone who loved him for who he was rather than the empire he had built. Clara, sensing the sincerity in his voice, finally placed her freezing hand in his, and the moment their fingers touched, something invisible yet unbreakable connected them, a spark of humanity that neither luxury nor hardship could extinguish. Adrian guided her to his sleek black car parked nearby, the warmth of its leather seats embracing her fragile frame and the baby who had stopped crying, soothed by the sudden comfort. As he drove through the snow-laden streets, Clara kept her eyes lowered, embarrassed by her situation, but Adrian spoke softly, asking her name, her story, and listening with genuine attention as she haltingly told him how she had worked double shifts to save money, how every penny went to baby formula and hospital bills, how she had no one left after her mother's passing, and though her words were heavy with exhaustion, Adrian found himself admiring her strength, her resilience, her willingness to sacrifice everything for her child, and for the first time in years, he felt that his wealth and power were useless unless they could be used to protect someone like her. When they reached his mansion, Clara gasped quietly at the sight of the towering iron gates and the sprawling estate hidden behind them, the kind of place she had only ever seen in glossy magazines left behind in hospital waiting rooms, and she hesitated, holding her baby closer, afraid that she didn't belong in a world of chandeliers and marble floors, but Adrian sensed her fear and assured her, "You and your baby are safe here," words that carried not just comfort but a promise, and as they stepped inside, the warmth of the house enveloped them, melting away the ice that clung to their skin and perhaps, slowly, to their hearts as well. Clara sat on the plush couch, still barefoot, her baby finally asleep against her chest, and Adrian, instead of retreating to his office as he usually did, sat opposite her, studying her with quiet respect, and in that silence, something shifted. He no longer saw himself as the lonely CEO the world admired from afar, but as a man who had found purpose in the most unexpected encounter. Clara, though still unsure of what awaited her, felt a fragile seed of hope stir within, for perhaps destiny had not forgotten her after all, and as the clock struck midnight, the storm outside raged on, but inside the mansion, two lost souls and a newborn had begun a story that neither of them could have imagined only hours before.